Peace and blessings to the dope family. This channel exists solely for the enlightenment, survival, and maturation of men. Now, before we get into the knowledge, get into the game, go ahead and hit that subscribe and that like button, and also the bell icon so you can stay up on the latest. Now, I know it's been about 3 weeks since I uploaded last, man. I took a bit of a hiatus, and I appreciate those who reached out to me to hold me accountable. But just make sure you hold yourself accountable in your own life, man, and you can't fail. You won't fail, you know. But I took a step back, took a bit of a hiatus so I can make sure the content that I'm giving you and the uploads that I upload are not, they don't become monotonous and boring and cookie cutter. You know what I mean? I always want to give you that content that only you can get here. You know, I want to keep it authentic. I want to keep it original, you know. But, you know, today, fellas, what we're going to cover is the risk of only taking what's given or what's available. Always reaching and picking for the low-hanging fruit. You know, whether the fruit is women, a promotion, health goals, simple negotiation, and the list goes on. But just think of any aspect you compromise in life, and this applies, man. A good current example would be the presidential race between Trump and Biden. Daily, I hear so many people complain about the two choices, saying, you know, they don't want to vote for either, yet they rationalize their decisions to vote for one or the other under the guise of, since you have to vote, you have to pick the lesser of the two evils. You know, what this sounds like to me is someone holding a gun to your head telling you to choose between rat poison or antifreeze, or they gonna kill you, which means you're gonna die regardless, man. You take the rat poison, you die. You take the antifreeze, you die. You make no choice. They got the gun to your head, you're gonna die. Period. But anyway, this is not a political channel. This is, you know, that's just one of many examples. But another prime example of not taking what's available or offered would be Joe Budden's current battle for creators to have a bigger slice of the pie, if not the whole pie to divide amongst those who truly provide and create the content. His most current battle was with Spotify. The only bad thing is when your name has some sort of weight to it, or you have a moderate level of fame or higher, which Joe's name definitely has respect on it amongst his peers. Amongst the people, not so much. But y'all better put some respect on Joe's name, man. But you know, your business and everyday life is for public consumption, and usually that consumption is all wrong because the average consumer has no grasp of business. So they're unable to digest too much information at once, especially if that information has a dollar amount involved. But let's go a little bit more in depth so you can see how it correlates. So Joe Budden for years has been ahead of the vlogging and YouTube game well before it was hot. You know, we had the first hip-hop culture podcast where him and his supporting cast gave their uncut and raw opinions about the state of the culture, which ironically he also has a show called State of the Culture. But anyways, he has been ahead of the curve for quite some time in what seems to be trending in the near future. You know, he was the one with the cell phone out. It might have been a little handheld camera, but he was vlogging and interviewing Drake before Drake was Drake. You know, it was just still so far gone Drake that saying he wasn't gonna reply to no diss. You know what I'm saying? And 10 years later, he replying to every diss that come across his lap. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so with Joe Budden podcast went on to do major numbers, man, developing a major following to the point to where Spotify wanted to do business. So in short, you know, Joe signed a 1-year deal with a 2nd-year option. Or it could have been a 2-year deal, I'm not sure. But which after the 1st or 2nd year, you know, they would revisit the contract and renegotiate the terms. Joe Budden podcast went on to become #1 amongst all podcasts on Spotify, which gave him heavy leverage. Heavy. So to sum up the deal with Spotify that they offered Joe, you know, they wanted the rights to everything that he creatively put his name on digitally. So all his shows, podcasts, and anything he planned on doing in the future. Plus, they also wanted to go slap ads on the old content he created years ago. And I know to some this sounds like, you know, what's the big deal, man? We see ads every day. But what this does is it muddies the experience for the person who is watching the content. I'm sure those who was on YouTube before all of these ads remember when you could just get uncut raw content straight through, man, and the experience was amazing. But now, if you're on your favorite person's channel, which is mine, I appreciate it. But anyway, when you're on your favorite creator's channel, you see all these ads just slapped across it, man. When they start to get in their pocket of creative streaming from the brain, next thing you know, they trying to sell you toilet paper, sell you toothpaste, they trying to sell you some Timbos. You know what I'm saying? And what this does is this messes up the experience for the person who is viewing. And typically what happens is the person becomes less interested in the content because they didn't get that creative stream all the way through. But anyway, in turn for his content being interrupted with ads plastered all over it, he gets millions and expedited exposure from being backed and sponsored by a major platform. Now, to the average Joe, no pun intended, this deal is something most could not and would not refuse. Because honestly, on the surface, you gain more exposure, which amounts to fame, and you would be on a growing platform, which amounts to financial gain. But what's malicious about this deal is it kills the creative process and handcuffs the creators. You see it commonly with rappers who freely create, which is the underground / mixtape world. And then they get signed, they sound different, man. And they end up what we call a commercial rapper. So clearly this proposal didn't work for Joe Budden because he turned it down to remain creatively in control of shows and the content he creates. Creatively in control of his creation. In short, he's not handing over the keys of the ship to dudes in suits in boardrooms determining the next move of his creative rights. You feel me? But yeah, man, enough about Joe. I know you wondering, how this correlates to you in your everyday life and experiences. As men, we have to learn to keep our desires in check. By desires, I'm not talking about goals and aspirations, but simply the fleshly temptations you face day to day. Now, whether it pertains to health, sex, or business matters, we must learn to rise above the lower level decisions that will hold us back in life. Only then can you take basic control of your life. Let's walk through what a day of only taking what's given and what's available looks like. Okay, so you wake up in the morning, you probably hit the snooze button about 2 to 3 times. That's your first mistake. You finally get up and you press for time, so you're unable to properly eat. So you just grab a donut or 2 from work, which can easily turn into 3 or 4 throughout the day. You didn't properly plan your lunch, so you order out with a couple of co-workers or just eat a bunch of snacks from the vending machines. So around 2 or 3 o'clock, you crash from all the sugar intake and basically eating trash all day. So you probably drink a Red Bull or a late cup of coffee and end up going to bed late, and only to repeat the same cycle because now you can't sleep, which means you're going to get to bed late, which means you're going to wake up late. And the cycle continues the next day, and you keep on repeating this, and repeating it. So you can see how lack of intent and clear direction can lead to a spiral of bad decisions because you put in a position to only take what's given or take what's available. I often correlate decisions made for health with decisions made for life. Clean diet and consistent exercise is small, quick wins that directly impact your mind, body, and soul. It essentially should be a layup, but it proven to be the everyday man's struggle. That said, how can you possibly make the more complex sacrifices and decisions if you can't properly manage what you put in your body for proper maintenance? I suggest everyone actually take time to reflect on that. Now, to make this correlation to women, we should only be dealing with high quality women. If you're constantly finding yourself entertaining women you would be ashamed to be seen with, you need to reflect, my brother. Now, to be clear, I'm not telling you to cuff every woman you come across or end up in something serious, but what I'm saying is when you look at the woman or women you are dealing with and you're underwhelmed and unimpressed, it speaks volumes to you just taking what's available. Because bagging a high quality woman, which is not only a beautiful woman, your 9s, your 10s, your 8s, but it's your women you come across with some sense and buy fully into the purpose of you, whatever that purpose may be. And not only are you brothers out here dealing with lower level women, but they're 6s and below giving you lip. And you deal with it because the sexual chemistry is on point. But who cares about that, man? Which again signifies you don't have your flesh in check enough to realize you have options out here. You typically see this mentality in men who don't get out and get active. They rather hit females in their DMs because they're less anxiety this way. It's the path of least resistance, and it's typically a level of comfort because you don't have to look into a woman's eyes and display a level of masculinity. Men of less value prefer that method because it gives them the time to build up courage and practice being a high value man for if and when they finally meet that woman. You know, you always want to have options in life, and you always want to explore the best possible options, whether it's high quality deals, women, decisions, even down to material possessions like clothes, cars, and the place you live. You know, the high quality deals, women, and decisions is pretty much self-explanatory, but let me clarify what I mean by high quality clothes, cars, and, you know, place you live or whatever. So when it comes to clothes, the quality is determined by the materials, right? The materials used, not the brands selling the clothes. Don't break the bank buying these high dollar name brand white t-shirts when you can get, 8 to 10 Old Navy t-shirts for the price of Gucci. Me personally, I'm the guy who prefer no logos on my clothes. Do I have clothes with logos on them? Of course I do. But sometimes less is more when it comes to being flashy. Just a little food for thought, man. Now let's move to making high quality decisions when it comes to cars. Now, whenever you purchase a car, you can drive that car off the lot, get one block down the road and change your mind and drive the car back within 5 to 10 minutes of buying it. And they would gladly buy the car back, but at a way lesser price you paid only 5 or 10 minutes ago. This is what's called depreciation. Depreciation is when the value of an item changes towards the lower end, typically when it changes hands. So, with this in mind, unless you plan on purchasing your dream car, you want to factor in depreciation and also resale value. So this means the cars rappers and athletes usually make fun of and we've been conditioned to not like the Hondas, Toyotas, Nissans, would actually be the better and practical purchase, at least until you've built your empire and established yourself enough to venture out into the foreign car category. Because let's be honest, we all have a high dollar car in our sights. Mine is the G-Wagon and Matte Black, you dig? Now, to cover the place you live is a bit more complex than clothes and a vehicle, right? But all of us are born into a certain set of circumstances, whether it's good or not ideal at all. I don't care for the product of my environment saying, only because it implies you have no options and you have no hope, simply because you was born in a certain place. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Do others have it worse than some? Of course they do. And I can't speak to every scenario possible, but what holds true to everyone is there's always a way and there's always options, even when you feel there is none, no matter how hard it is. So you want to try to lay your head where you can live, rest, and sleep peacefully with no stress whatsoever. Now I know that's easier said than done for some, but you should work towards this goal. So to sum it up, fellas, when you're faced with decisions in life, we should always look to make the best possible decisions, right? Right. But many of you don't understand how to decide what's best for yourself. And it's quite sad, man. Because many of you, if faced with a simple decision like an apple versus a Snickers, for a snack, would fold and smash off on the Snickers and go back and get another one because it wasn't enough. So it should be no surprise that you deal with low-hanging fruit and lower-level people across the board. Because the best decisions in leveling up in life is usually the most complex and, less obvious move to make, but will yield the greatest results for you. But many of you would continuously pick the Snickers throughout your life over and over. The Snickers being lower level females, but she cute though. The financial decisions that constantly put you in a hole, man, because you can't seem to stay within your means. Chasing a paycheck on a job where high levels of stress is the trade-off. Taking L after L in negotiations because you don't know your worth. And the list goes on and on. I can come up with endless ways that you pick Snickers over the apple. And I just made that up off the top. So if you hear that somewhere else, you heard it here first. But anyways, man, you as men, you can't be co-pilot to your emotions. You have to consciously fly the plane and drive the ship that is essentially your life. Don't always take what's available or or being offered at the time. Take your time, sit back, think about it. Your baby girl cute, but she ain't worth a seat in your kingdom. That's for high quality women. Yeah, you hungry, but them donuts ain't it, chief. Yeah, this salary looks good, but it doesn't equate to what skills I bring to the table. I could get the Mercedes right now, but I'll put a strain on my finances, so let me be patient. Let me fall back and keep building. These are the conversations and lines of thought you should be having with yourself. You only have one life, and as far as we know, there's no do-overs. So figure out how you want to move and do so unapologetically with high levels of dignity, morals, ethics, and all that good stuff, and pretty much just be an upstanding dude about how you move, and you won't lose. Get your house in order, your mind, body, and your soul, and your decision making will fall into place, as well as all else. But like I always say, man, it's a hard journey, but a necessary journey of maturation. Be sure to hit that subscribe and that like button and the bell icon so you can stay up on the latest. Feel free to email me at dopediscourse@gmail.com. Some of you take me up on that offer, man, but I'm serious. It's genuine. When I tell you to hit me up, it's not like a offer that's like, yo, hit me up, but really don't do it though. You know what I'm saying? I want to at one point talk to everybody. I want to have a conversation with everybody. So feel free to reach out, if you have any questions, or if you just want to chop it up, man, let's do it. But until next time, Dope family, I'm out.